Brazilians love gossip, don't they? And today we're going to talk a little more about what the relationship is between gossip and etiquette. Hi everyone, how are you? Another video on the channel. Etiquette and protocol. I'm Juliana Santiago, a teacher and etiquette specialist, co-founder of Etiquette and Protocol. And today we're going to talk a little more about etiquette with gossip, right? How to deal with gossip and rumors in a more elegant way too, because we know that gossip happens. Isn't that right, whether we're talking about a celebrity's life? Something that happened in our neighborhood, in our city, among the people we interact with at work. Gossip in a way is always present, but more than just gossip existing, we need to understand how to deal with it in an elegant way. Whether you are the person spreading the gossip or even the one affected by it, it's a very delicate situation, isn't it? When a rumor or gossip starts, comments begin to circulate, and you are one of the people involved in that topic, in that matter. So today we're going to talk a little more about how to deal with all of this in a more graceful way in your daily life. First, we need to understand what gossip really is, right? So what is gossip? They're more informal comments about people's lives, right? Many times they're comments without any basis, things that were made up, they're not real stories, they're topics that are often even imagined in our minds, right? Where we even mix a bit of reality with things we believe might have happened or with things we imagine actually happened. So there, it's something more delicate than just, right? Just telling a story, it's something we might even fantasize about. It can harm someone's reputation, it can disrupt someone's life, and it can cause irreparable damage to a person's life. So it's important for us to understand what gossip really is and what its impact is, because in many cases it can be something extremely serious and extremely delicate. But why do people gossip, right? Why do they create these stories? Why do they create these rumors, these fantasies? Well, the fact is that people often gossip just to feel a little more included in the environment. Often it's to be part of a group, to have something to talk about in that place. And that's it, right? Like that? Involved in that situation, she ends up making up a story that she created in her own head, sometimes based on real facts. But she adds some points there that in fact didn't really happen. Third, to be well regarded, to be accepted, to have something to talk about. So if you create gossip, stories from your own head, just to have something to talk about in the group. I hate to inform you, but that's extremely inappropriate and can be very damaging to your image. Because if you have a habit of doing this, sooner or later people will notice and they'll end up distancing themselves from you. But much more than just gossiping, we have to think about when the gossip is about you, when you're the one affected by the gossip, how are you going to deal with the gossip, with the rumor that was spread about you? Something that's not true and that you want in some way to prove that it didn't actually happen. The first thing you need to think about is staying calm. We know that this rumor, this untruth has already been spread. That's a fact. So if you get too nervous, if you get too worked up, that can really hurt you. And people might end up thinking that this gossip is true. People might interpret it that way. Not that it's true. We know that gossip is an untruth. But we need to understand that if you get too worked up, sometimes you lose a little. Your reaction can make people interpret things differently. And in this case here, we want to deal with gossip in the best way, in the most elegant way. So, staying calm, taking a deep breath is the first thing you should do after you're already a little calmer. We're going to need to analyze that situation, what the gossip is about, what the topic that was spread is about. Do you really need to justify yourself? Do you really need to fight to tell the truth and your side of the story? Because we know there are all kinds and types of gossip, and we need to understand that not every piece of gossip needs a response. Many times your attitude, your elegant and wise way of dealing with it, your silence, that is already an answer to it. Of course, we have to analyze the context and the level of impact that it had on your life. So it's important for you to evaluate it. But remember that you don't always have to fight to justify yourself, Sometimes it's something minor that's better left alone. Because in many cases, the person who gossips is already being discredited too, She's spreading rumors about you, but everyone knows they're false because she's known for gossiping too much. So, is it worth responding or not? That's why it's important for us to be smart about this. But what if you want to go after it and fight for your truth, right? You want to say that gossip isn't true? The first thing is to try to find out who was the source that started that gossip, especially in the workplace or among friends. You'll easily be able to put some pressure on people to tell you or to narrow it down to 1, 2, or even 3 people. Those were the people who ended up spreading that gossip, that untruth. It's interesting to think that it's better for you to go directly and talk to those people. You don't need to gather a group just to expose the people who gossip, right? So if people are spreading rumors about you and you know it's not true, it's much worse for you to gather everyone and point fingers at those people than to approach them individually or bring them together in a small group, That will show everyone that you are much more graceful and much smarter in knowing how to handle that situation, right? That you have strong emotional control and are precise about where you're going and how you want to resolve that situation. You might ask, Juliana, I spoke to people, but others were affected. It was gossip. In my workplace, for example, they said that I'm getting involved with my boss, for example. That's not true. People spread that. I talked to people, but I realized that it got to his wife. So are you also going to go after the people who were affected, right? You're going to go talk to the people who spread that gossip and the people who are directly involved in that matter. If you want to defend your truth, you'll really have to not be ashamed to go after and look for those people. So talk to your boss, for example, in this extremely delicate case. Tell him that they're spreading this gossip and you're feeling offended that this doesn't represent you, that you're not that person, and that if by any chance his wife already knows about this gossip, you want to talk to her and want him to stand up to her, right? That you're interested in talking to her, that this is not true anyway. So these are extremely delicate matters. Strong rumors, heavy gossip, let's put it that way. We need to be extremely mature and we need to act with caution, especially if you are one of the people involved, and that's not true. Proving the truth is often very difficult, so staying calm is the first step. It's essential for you to be elegant in this situation and for sure to be seen in a different way by everyone. Because when something extremely difficult and delicate happens to you and you handle it very well, people see you in a very positive way. You can work on your personal image in a very advanced way because if you handle something extremely delicate in an elegant manner, you can get through any situation. So especially in the workplace among friends, that situation can cause losses and harm to you. Be extremely smart and calm at this moment. Now, of course, we need to talk a little with people who like gossip. And how can you avoid taking part in this gossip and those absurd stories that are created in certain situations? Here I brought some tips for you to avoid taking part in gossip and to help you stay out of it. And even having your name involved in possible gossip that could really harm you. The first point is that you need to be a role model in your behavior. If you already realize that what's going on is gossip, that it's a rumor, that it's something that could really harm someone, that it's an unfounded falsehood, just theories, say that you don't want to participate, to be involved with all of that. The other day, I was in a group with several people present and a topic came up and someone decided to ask a friend if that thing had happened. She said, look, I'll tell you right now that this is gossip. This isn't true. So it's important for you to check this because this is just a rumor and I don't want to be part of it. She spoke like that right then and I was so amazed. It was such a beautiful attitude because I saw that she ended the subject right away. And she took a stand in an extremely elegant way, making us admire her even more. Because she didn't want to be part of that, she just ended the subject. In fact, ending the subject is an extremely elegant way for you to stop gossip and not take part in it. Be smart. Another point is that you can change the subject. If you notice that people have started with some gossip and unfounded rumors, you can change the subject. Take the conversation to another situation, to another context, which can be much more interesting. And you will slip away unnoticed, so you won't be involved with that group that's gossiping. Depending on the situation, a good way to avoid gossip is to defend the person who isn't present. For example, let's suppose they say that Maria is involved with the boss, João. Let's revisit this very delicate example. You can say, guys, but Maria isn't even here for us to ask her if she's involved. Next time she's around, you should ask her. Right away, it'll seem like you're taking a stand and that you don't want to be part of that, and you're also defending Maria. So it's interesting for you to realize that if you get out of these situations, it'll be much better for you. Especially in the workplace where things you might do there can be extremely harmful to your career. Including if you want to understand a little more about good behavior, building your personal image, elegance, in all situations, occasions, whether at work, at a restaurant, or at a party. I invite you to join my etiquette and good manners training. There you will learn everything about etiquette. It's one of the most famous courses at our school. And by using the YouTube coupon that's appearing here on the screen, you get a special discount on your first course at our school. Click the first link in the description to sign up for the training. I'll be there waiting. Let's continue. Now we're going to talk a little about gossip in the workplace, which was some of the examples I gave here, everyone. Gossip at work can really harm you, even in social settings. It can, of course, make people distance themselves from you, but socially, they tolerate some behaviors more because they're in more relaxed environments, or sometimes they've known you for a long time. They might see it as something temporary or specific you're doing. So, when people have known you for a longer time, when they know your essence, your story, it's easier for them to not see you as an extremely gossipy person. But in the workplace, where people have less time to get to know you, they know you less. And often, they even want to be where you are. Because in the workplace, many times a company wants to have your position, sometimes in a law firm where you work. They want to have your client, they want to have your client portfolio, so they might use that as something to harm you. If you are a gossip, then participating in gossip in the workplace can be extremely harmful to your career and to your development within a company. Client prospecting, providing services or something like that. Always remember to remain extremely professional, especially in more relaxed work situations like a happy hour with your coworkers, year-end parties, gatherings, or during lunchtime. Avoid getting involved in gossip that could harm you. Always remember that even though people at work can develop friendships, you can definitely be friends with someone at work. It's important for us to understand that it's a work environment and there are all kinds of people there, so let's stay a little alert. Don't get involved in that. If you notice that some gossip is getting out of hand or even that you've been affected by some gossip, talk to a supervisor. Talk to someone who can help you and put an end to this gossip or any possible rumors that are going around. Sometimes you hear a rumor that the company is going to close. Be careful with what you spread. Is that enough? Ask, look, I heard that the company is closing. I need to plan myself. I'm hearing some gossip. I want to know if this is true. There you go. It's much more professional of you to have a verified attitude than to just take part in gossip, spreading false news or even true news. But that are just hallway talk, you know? Always remember to promote a positive environment at work where conversations are actually interesting and uplifting, and not conversations that can cause harm to your coworkers or even hurt them in there, okay? Not just you, but other people as well. Gossip is an extremely delicate thing because sometimes it starts as just a little chat at a bar, for example, and it ends up turning into something that can be extremely harmful to a family, to a job, to a professional career, and something that can end up destroying someone's life and that many times doesn't even have any basis and didn't actually happen. So unlike a story or some fact that actually happened, gossip can be something that can destroy someone's life, or even if you are a gossip, destroy your own life and your reputation. And there are several things that really harm your image, and one of them is asking clueless questions, right? For example, how much do you weigh? How old are you? Do you remember me? And I've already made a video talking about clueless questions where I mentioned several of them that you shouldn't ask anyone, right? When will you have kids, get married, or find a boyfriend? I've discussed these and other questions in this video, which I'll leave here. I'll stop for now. See you later.